This will be recorded. There you go. And welcome to our second Innovation Pilot Project webinar, where we are going to share some wonderful projects that we have from 4 grantees. Next slide, Jennifer. Just a couple logistical things. Like I said, this is being recorded. And the slides will also be available. So if you have to leave early, or some folks who could not attend, just let them know that this will be recorded and we will post this on our website. And so hopefully, if you're all on, about our Innovation Pilot Project that we have over the last about a year been developing this process, and we just recently awarded the phase 2 grants to recipients. And so we are excited to share all this wonderful information and projects to you, especially as they're getting really kicked off in the last month. We have divided up the projects, and I say divided, really just categorize them into groups. And it really is just to help individuals and families and stakeholders understand really what these projects are about. And so they all fall within these 5 buckets, if you will. Some really could fall into multiple. Supporting those that support, so that's supporting caregivers and DSPs, support through technology, community partnership and community change, information and skills for individuals, and exploring current models of services and payment. So today we have 4 grantees that are going to present. I also want to share with you, I know you're not going to be able to type that website out. I will put that in the chat as well, but this is breaking news. I know, but we created a BEADS innovative pilot project website. And right now it really doesn't have too much information on it. However, each grantee does have a one pager on this website where you can go in and you can click on the one pager, and it gives you some information about the project, some information that they'll share today, as well as some additional information that hopefully is helpful as we are kicking these off. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We have IPP Consulting, Hillcroft Services, Dungarvin, and New Star. They will talk for about 10 to 15 minutes, just sharing some information about their projects. And we'll save the questions to the end. So if you do have any questions and you want to go ahead and post them in the question and answer session, or box, if you will, in this, I'll keep a track of those and we will ask them at the end. So I'm going to kick it off to IPP Consulting, if you guys want to go ahead and share some information about your project.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on. I am Abby. I'm Hannah, and this is our project. Go for it. Yeah. So Abby and I, Abby Strader is Abby Key, but I work for Abby, and we kind of got together, had a great idea. We're both working in behavior management as BCs. And so basically our project idea is just that we were getting together and providing some sort of a training for unpaid caregivers. We had seen some just challenges and things like that within unpaid caregivers and parents and things. And so we thought it would be great to provide some sort of training for that, and we'll go into specifics in a second. So basically what we're going to do is provide a workshop for unpaid caregivers to attend. And basically what's going to happen is we would like for them to join this training and just get some basic ideas and concepts to help improve the lives of the individuals that we serve. And so basically we're going through our one pager, as Jessica mentioned just now. And so what we will do is conduct research on top areas of education that are needed for unpaid caregivers in order to have successful behavior services. And so then after that, we're going to choose specific topics that would benefit unpaid caregivers most. Right now, within our project, we just sent out a survey. Thank you to anyone who's watching who helped us out with that survey. It's really, really beneficial for us to hone in on those topics that might be most beneficial. And so right now, kind of what we're thinking is as far as specific topics, just an intro to behavior consulting, the concept of reinforcement and punishment, data tracking, just common coping skills, common terminology, reading a behavior plan. And then we're working really closely with Dr. Amarita Kanai, who's hopefully going to be coming and presenting as well, just about burnout and sensory needs, advocating with medical providers and medication management, things like that. Then after we have kind of really decided on those topics, we're going to research them. And then we originally were thinking it would be a 6-week workshop, but after some of the feedback that we've gotten from our survey, we're kind of thinking of maybe changing it to 4 weeks. So that's kind of up for debate right now. And then, yeah, pretty much from then on, we're going to work really closely with Beads and the team there, and just ensure that our topics and teachings are cohesive to the policies and procedures and then expectations of behavior services. So
we plan to do this with the assistance of the Beads. We hope to advertise to case management companies and caregivers that are on the wait list. We're hoping that we can reach out to caregivers and maybe give them the opportunity to start with a little bit behavior training before they actually start services. We're going to allow for caregivers to register for the class. And then the goal is also to provide babysitting and care for any caregivers who want to come and feel like they can't leave their kids or whoever they're taking care of. We're really hoping to provide babysitting because we recognize that caregivers have a lot on their plate. So babysitting is going to be a big thing for us. After we implement the initial class, we're hoping to conduct some surveys and some reviews and see how well the caregivers received the class and how helpful it was, and kind of make some tweaks and changes from there. And then we hope to re-implement the class and just continue to refine it and grow the class better. Initially, we're just going to start within the Marion County area and just see how well that goes. And then our hope is for us to expand it throughout the counties and the whole state.
So yeah, and then we just hope that that kind of results in unpaid caregivers just being a little bit better equipped with choosing a behavior consultant, knowing what roles and expectations are. Again, just making sure that the expectations are clear and what those services kind of look like and what their role in it is. And then also one of our main goals too was just to make sure that parents or unpaid caregivers could have almost like a support group of just people to connect to. A lot of times, some of the way that the waiver works, it can be kind of isolating. And so the goal with the in-person training specifically was just to provide that as well. Yeah, and just make sure that unpaid caregivers are set up for success within their behavior management services. So.
So a short-term goal for us with this, we expect caregivers to have more informed choice of whether or not they actually need behavior services. I think a lot of times unpaid caregivers have an expectation of what behavior services are, and then they get into it and it's not what they think it is. And so this is a good opportunity to give just a real great overview of what the service we're providing is, and then they can choose to opt out of it. This will also just equip unpaid caregivers with the basic knowledge of how to choose an appropriate BC that would work well with their family. We also really hope to help caregivers build more natural supports within the community and kind of get to know each other. And then for long term, this will help caregivers build supportive relationships in the community, and it also just equip them with more knowledge. I think when they start with a BC, sometimes reading a behavior plan can be a little bit intimidating. I know sometimes a lot of the verbiage that we use is not common to anybody outside of the BC world. And so we're hoping just to kind of make that a little bit less intimidating to caregivers. Yeah, so we're just really excited to see what we can provide. And we really hope that we encourage caregivers to want to work closely with us and just figure out also what maybe they need and just build a better relationship between BCs and caregivers just right off the bat from the get-go. So that's our idea. That's our project. Feel free to ask questions in the end, but we appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Abby and Hannah. I'm also putting in the chat your your website as well. And we'll put your contact information there if folks have questions they want to ask directly to you guys. Thank you. I don't see any questions so far, but we'll wait to the end just to see. Next slide, Jennifer. Okay, we have Hillcroft Services. If they want to go ahead and jump off mute and share a little bit about their project. And if you guys can't read this, it might be a little bit difficult to read. Just FYI, these slides will be posted too.
I think you're fine, Leanne.
Go ahead, Leanne.
All right. So I'm Leanne Cole, and I am the Chief Home and Community-Based Services Officer for Hillcroft. And we are celebrating our 70th year as a provider for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we've been around for a long time. Some of the things that we've talked about being key factors with working with our population has been the staffing crisis that we've all dealt with for the last few years. So we definitely decided that we were going to jump into remote supports, and we did that. When we jumped in, we found some things that we were a little surprised about. One, the amount of, I don't know what word to use, but maybe fear about switching to the use of technology for both the clients, case managers, families, and we got a lot of backlash that we really weren't prepared for. But the other side of it was the individuals we support were super excited once they tried it. They would come in smiling that they did all these things for themselves, and they started to want to do more and more independently. We also found out that we were truly over supporting people. So our goal with this project was to look at how we could use our residential program with all people who are in continuous supports, people who have previously been supported 24 hours a day. How we could look at those individuals and see how we could continue to use more technology for them to create even more independence. We found out that community engagement was the #1 thing that they wanted to do. Because on one of the things that we said what we will do on our one-sheeter said that we would conduct surveys to determine interest in our pilot project participation. We've already done that. Everybody was super excited. Yeah, they wanted to be involved. So we have figured out for them, they're either going to use an iPad or an Android. We split our group up into 2 based on what kind of technology they might already have been exposed to. If they had an iPhone, we definitely went with an iPad. And then we are going to work with those groups of people on their specific goals. The main one, like I said, has been community engagement. They would like to get around the community more freely on their own. They would like to shop for themselves and be able to make grocery lists and all those kind of things. So that's where we're starting. Anything that they were relying solely for staff on before, we are looking for technology, mainly through applications that can be used on any of these devices. So the other thing we wanted to integrate was the life course tools of the integrated support star. So that's what we've done to use our assessments. So we purchased the devices, and I've told you what those are. And we're in the phase right now of training our support individuals on how to use their devices. And then we're going to regularly measure their effectiveness and satisfaction. Those are the outcomes that we are looking for. We will also measure whether this has decreased the amount of staff that the individuals need or not. But our main 2 goals that we're looking for is, do the clients feel more independent? And do they feel more satisfied with their life satisfaction and how their life is going? One of the things that we also noted that was a gap in services for us was, with less staff available, that if you live with many people in your house, often a lot of our people live with 2 or 3 other individuals. If there's only 1 staff available, then you may have to go along to activities that you're not interested in, or that you might have to not get to do the one-on-one activities that you wanted that day. So we definitely wanted to also address that gap in services if there was ways for people to be more independent and get the things that they want more efficiently. So what we'll do, we've surveyed individuals to determine their support currently received by staff and if they were interested in exploring the use of technology. One of our big other things that we're going to use in data to help us with is to develop our data tracking tool. Then we're going to do a lot more education and orientation than we have in the past with remote supports with all the interdisciplinary team. So sitting down with the individual who has chosen to be part of this project and their entire team so that we're all on the same page to make sure that we're using technology the way that the individual would like it to be used and that we're supporting them to lessen any of the fears that people might have of the change. Then we're going to develop a topic curriculum with some task analysis for how to use the app, how to make changes in the app. Those will be used both for our staff who will be supporting the individual alongside learning the technology and the individual themselves. Our long-term hope with that is then that this can be put together into a curriculum that we can share with others. Again, with our project, we're being very individualized with the individuals that we're supporting on their technology. So definitely looking at their PCISPs. Of the 17 individuals that are going to be using the iPads, 100% of them had in their PCISP already wanting to increase community independence. So we definitely were trying to pull in all the other areas to help check off all the boxes for these people. So then we're going to conduct regular education and support sessions with our individual and their support person and their staff together to ensure that we're continuing to grow in our use and comfort of the technology. We will survey everyone every 3 months. Our results are that we're going to continue to explore and increase the options of assistive technology to increase independence. A lot of it just has to be with exposure and then get a chance to see how it works and become more comfortable with it. So we're going to continue to then expose individuals to technology options to increase their independence and then develop a specific curriculum. Short term, we want to increase comfort with technology. We want everybody to be more comfortable that sometimes it can be used in place of a live person and increase our ability to access our community more independently, particularly since that was definitely number one for the individuals we support. And increase awareness of their own capabilities. We definitely, again, as I said, over-supported in the beginning, we have created a culture of dependence. So we really want to change to a culture of independence and put the supports in only where they're absolutely needed. And we definitely want to work on increasing the preference of the individuals we support to use the technology for the independence rather than relying on their staff. So long-term, what do we want to do? We want our individuals to be less dependent on staff and others to assist with their aspects of their lives, truly to result in the need for reduction of paid staff hours. Our first goal is, that's long-term, but our first goal is to just get the individuals to be able to use the paid staff that we have available and that they have in their budget to the best of their ability and when it makes sense. We want them to have increased self-confidence and control over their own lives. And we want to reverse the culture of dependence to the culture of independence. And we want to provide alternatives to the waiver dollar expenditures to possibly where we could use technology as part of the waiver to give someone more freedom and to get their needs met in the best way possible. And the last thing is lessening the anxiety brought on by the fear of everybody of dignity of risk and letting individuals have more supports of their own. So in general, that's what we're doing, and we're pretty excited about it, and the individuals we're supporting are really excited as well.
Thank you, Leanne and Kara. We appreciate that information. I don't see any, I put your contact information, Kara, as well in the chat in the website. And again, we don't have any questions, it looks like right now, but I will keep monitoring for the end. Appreciate it. Okay, up next we have Dungarvin. Looks like you guys are still on mute, just in case you're Christine or Dan.
Okay, I think I've got it now.
There you go.
Yes, I could use some help with technology myself. So thank you, Jessica, for inviting us to present. I wanted to just go over the name of our project, Hosted Shared Living. Many on this call would be familiar with the term adult foster care or structured family caregiving, the current name that you would have in Indiana for this model of service. We chose hosted shared living. Shared living is a broader term, and it's used across the country. So, and then in many places, a person providing the service is called a host home. So you'll see this name, or you'll see many names for hosted shared living or structured family caregiving. So anyhow, I just want to hit that with you fairly quickly. Let's go on to the next slide. So in terms of the project lead, we have Christine Ranahan, who's our state director for Dungarvin. And then I am the national project manager. So if you have questions or anything like that, certainly contact us in regards to this particular project. We can go to the next slide. Just a little bit of information about Dungarvin. We were founded in 1976 in Minnesota, and that's where our corporate offices are. We're currently operating in 15 states, including Indiana since 1988. In Indiana, we have locations in Evansville, Indianapolis, Lafayette, Portage, and South Bend. And then the services we provide are supported living, the CIH, FSW, and SFC, as well as ICFs and ESNs. To the next slide. So I'd like to talk a little bit about why this project. There's lots of things one could be doing. Our experience across the country is at Dungarvin, we're in 15 states. About half those states, we do a comparable SFC model of service. What we've seen in those states is just tremendous outcomes for the individuals. When we do good matching, they can actually be life-changing experiences. So we try to make sure that those services are offered across the country wherever we are. And in Indiana, what we've seen since our inception there is that the service is very much underutilized. Right now, there's probably 240 people or so in the state utilizing the SFC model of service. In many states, that is a primary model of service. So we know there's a lot more folks that could use this service if we can get the right system together. We also understand in our talking with folks, both with Indiana and in other states, often the model is misunderstood. It's often equated with children's foster care. They're very different, have very different goals. And we know that a fair amount of education has to occur with this particular model of service for those who are interested in using it. We've also seen service quality issues in states. And as I understand it, when I spoke with the ARC probably some 10 years ago, there were concerns then with the service quality in some areas of this particular model. We also have taken a look at the rules, and we think some of the rules need to be reviewed and revised. That's something else we'll be making recommendations for. And then finally, and this kind of ties into a lot of it, it's underfunded. The last time, the last rates we can see they're exactly the same today as they were some 13, 14 years ago, and perhaps further back. It's as far back as we can go. So those rates haven't changed for a while. Luckily, though, there's some things afoot, hopefully, that will change that coming up. We can move on to the next slide. So the way we'll go about reviewing this model and then recommending changes is we've put together an advisory panel. So that panel includes folks who are program participants, advocates, case managers, content experts, and project personnel. And some of the folks that who have volunteered to sit on this panel include Andy Kirby, COO of the ARC of Indiana, Keith Digman, the Executive Director for the Columbus organization, Katie Connell, Director of Community Supports and Youth Services Liaison, Megan Velasquez, Director of Client Services for Livestream, and Cindy Summers, who's our evaluation consultant. I would also add, it's a new addition. We have Nash Dunn, who's the president of the Knox County ARC. We could go on to the next slide. So we also have some open committee seats though, and we are working with some folks to find these individuals. So we have 2 persons either interested in or who are currently served by this model. We're looking for 1 non-agency guardian and then 1 current Indiana independent contractor. And we can move on. And then the Dungarvin project team includes Christine and myself, Jennifer Warr, who is our Indianapolis area director, Sarah Eppard, who is our state of Ohio director and is a strong interest in shared living in that state, Amy Paul Zazutek, our administrative support, and Monica Romaine, who is a 20+ year Colorado independent contractor providing host home services. What will we be doing? I think that the main things, we hope to expand the use of this model in the state. Again, compared to many other states, it's not heavily used. And just we think a lot of folks can benefit from it. So some things we'll be doing is developing detailed policies, procedures, and forms for screening, matching, and contractor support. We want to just put together a strong, solid set of these processes for our own agency, for other agencies to utilize and hopefully improve on over time also. They should not be a static set of products. Another thing that we want to spend some time doing is educating primary stakeholders who have an interest in this service model, those who might be making references or referrals for folks. And that would come, well, I'll get into that in just a minute. And then we're also going to be pilot testing the model. Keep in mind that pilot tests will be in the Marion County and contiguous areas. So starting next fall, we'll start ramping up to provide those services for up to 15 people throughout the course of the project. Again, we'll also be doing throughout each piece of everything we develop, there will be an evaluation process going on. And then another significant component will be conducting research that compares Indiana to other states. And what we want to find out there is, how do other folks have this model structured? What are the rules? What are their processes? What are their rates? And use that information, bring it all together, and then provide that information to the state to consider. So from a timelines perspective, we expect to have all of our policies, procedures ready to go by August. Then in September, we'll start educating and informing our stakeholders. Again, that's going to be persons served, that's going to be guardians, case management agencies, providers or potential providers of the service. In October, we'll start again recruiting, training, and matching providers and persons served in the metro Indianapolis area. By the end of the project, March, we expect to have, for the pilot implementation, we will have collected data, analyzed it, provide a report and make recommendations to BEADS regarding the pilot. And then in March, we'll also produce that comparative information that I spoke of, that takes a look at both Indiana and other states and how they provide this service. Keys to our success, those would include an active and engaged advisory panel. So we've tried to select a group of folks who have some knowledge and some strong interest, we hope, in developing this model. And I can say with the folks I've spoken with, they all have just that. Again, out of their advice, their wisdom, we hope to have some very strong policies, procedures, and practices at the end of the day. And again, these are things that can be shared, and hopefully other folks, other providers can take that information and also implement programs just like this. We also, again, through our educational efforts, we understand that folks need to have a much better understanding of this service model. That it's just kind of lost on folks in terms of what it's about and how it looks and how it should look. So we hope to answer a lot of questions there. We hope to have a discussion with folks about having adequate reimbursement rates. We think that is key to why it's been underutilized up to this point. And then there are other key to success for this program is attracting sufficient number of SFC or host home providers. That's been the biggest challenge, I think, for most providers in the state, is getting folks to agree to provide this service. All right. So just one more piece here, and I promised Kara I would not steal any thunder from her, but that is the shared living model has some different looks to it. And the one I've been talking about is the SFC as it's been developed. With New Star, they're looking at another aspect of shared living. And with that, I think I should probably turn that over then to Kara. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. It doesn't look like we have any questions right now, so but I'll keep monitoring those. Yeah, if Kara, if you want to go ahead and jump on, sorry.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So we are New Star, and like Dan said, we are looking at the shared living model, but we're going to be looking at it a little different. We're calling ours our companion model. Next slide, sorry. Forgot I couldn't do it. I'm trying to do it myself. A little bit about our team. Our president CEO is Dan Strick, our chief program officer, Kelly Biradelli, and then I am the director of Indiana Services. We couldn't include all the pictures of the rest of our team, all of our consumers and our families that are going to really help try to see what this model looks like, what's the best model for them moving forward. So we couldn't include those, but they are also a part of our big team. Next slide. So our mission at New Star is to provide choices and opportunities for persons with disabilities and their families through a culture of innovation and caring to enrich their lives and maximize their independence. We really feel that the shared living model meets this mission. It's very innovative. Obviously, independence is key here. When they're living alone or living with someone in their home, there's a lot more opportunities to be independent. Next slide. Oh, there's probably a thing. Yep. So our vision, we envision a community where New Star will be the leading service solution provider to minimize discrimination and waiting lists while maximizing access to the services and supports that empower individuals to pursue community employment and living, if they so choose, in order to assume their rightful roles in society as productive, valued citizens. We want our individuals to lead meaningful lives that they choose, that they want, and that is our main goal. And again, I think this really fits well within our vision. Next slide. So a little bit about New Star. So we were actually developed in Illinois by parents in the 1950s as a school. In the 1970s, when schools became integrated, we then started serving individuals, adults with disabilities in our day programs, and then started residential services. So we've been around for a long time in Illinois. We moved into Indiana in about 2011 and started providing services in Lake, Porter, Jasper, and Newton counties. We provide services through the FSW and the CIH, residential habilitation, PAC, DHI for individuals, respite and recreational therapy. Next slide, please. So what do we hope to accomplish with this program? So we really want to look at a shared living model that will easily be replicated throughout the state, and really somewhat replace the current structured family caregiving model. It's really underutilized, like Dan mentioned. There's only 200 and some people utilizing it throughout the state. Several other states have way more people utilizing it, and they've seen increase in community participation in their health. So we really want to be able to accomplish developing a program that really meets the needs of the individuals we're supporting. Next slide, please. So how are we going to do that? So one of the first things we're going to do is collect data. So we are going to be talking to current providers of structured family caregiving, talking to individuals that are receiving that service, talking to case managers about what they know about that service, not only in Indiana, but we're going to look at other states and other states that are doing it really well to try to determine what is it that makes it a good program that people would like to participate. One of the other points of our program that's a little different than Dungarvin's is we are going to look at it a little different. Instead of finding host homes where an individual moves into, we would like our individuals to either have their own home or their own apartment and invite someone into their home. We really feel that it meets some of the things we're trying to do to take control away from service providers or different things like that and put it in the hands of the consumers. So one of the things that we really have to be able to do, and this is probably our biggest barrier, is looking to find affordable housing and different program options that allow individuals to be able to live in the community on their own, or to be able to share living with someone and share rent with someone who is a provider for them. And so that's going to be probably our biggest barrier, but it is something we really have to tackle first. Next part. So we're going to be obviously creating those manuals, training curriculums on what does it look like for the provider? What kind of skills do they need to have? Next piece. And then a matching process, which is so important, especially when an individual is going to be inviting someone into their home. We want this to be someone that they actually invite into their home instead of we invite them into their home. So we're going to try to determine, best interests, what areas they want to live in, all of those kinds of things. So we have to develop that really good matching process, sort of like a dating app or something. Next slide. And then one of the things obviously is looking at the reimbursement rates. Like Dan mentioned, it's probably one of the biggest areas why people don't use the structured family caregiving. We also want to look at other things that are not available in structured family caregiving, such as respite, because there are going to be opportunities where we think an individual not only is going to need a break from their provider, but the provider is going to need a break from them. And then what are those support expectations? And so we're looking at developing a matrix based on their algo levels, based on some of their needs, based on what they want and how much support they want and need, to determine what those support expectations, the different rates, and the respite needs for those individuals are. Next slide. So some of the goals that we're hoping to accomplish with this program is obviously that individuals are leading their best lives in their lives based on the choices that they make for example, where they want to live, what kind of things they want to do in the community, how they want to participate, who they want to live with them. We want the individuals, again, to choose where they live instead of us saying, hey, there's an opening here, let's put you here. We want them to be able to choose the areas that they live in. Do they want to live in a city where they can walk everywhere, or would they rather live in a different part of the state? So initially for our program, for our pilot project, we're going to be looking at mostly Lake and Porter County, because that's where our biggest presence is. But we hope, again, that this will be developed and can be replicated throughout the whole state. We want individuals to invite their companions into their home to get their support instead of them moving into those family homes, or instead of them moving into the host home. Again, we feel that control is an issue that a lot of our individuals face right now, because they're put in situations based on what's available, not based on what they want. So we really feel that if we look at this as one of our main aspects for our program, it's really going to take that away. Next slide. Other goals are they are going to be able to choose who they get the support from. And again, based on those similar interests, that matching process is so important so that they can become not only a provider and help them with some of the daily living skills, things that they might need. They're their support. They're the person that they go out into the community with, they participate in activities with. They might go to the library with, be in a reading club with. They might do a lot of different activities with them. So it's more of a companion instead of a provider. We feel that this program is really going to be able to increase their access to their community. Again, with that individual having similar interests, they'll be able to participate in all of those kinds of activities together, get out into the community together. We all know right now, transportation is the biggest problem for most of our individuals. So if an individual is participating in the same things, they automatically have that transportation. And of course, staffing shortages. We're all facing staffing shortages now. It's crazy. I don't know where people are and why they don't want to work. But we're hoping that this will really eliminate those problems where individuals right now are receiving 24-hour support. They have 4 or 5 different people coming into their home throughout the week. Depending on turnover, that can be even more in a month. And so we're hoping that not only that the consistent person provides great services, but that we don't have those staffing shortages. Next slide, please. So again, like we mentioned, we really feel that structured family caregiving is an underutilized service in Indiana. We really think that obviously the reimbursement rates has something to do with that. And then the increased program requirements, having a nurse, being able to go in and do different things. We really want our individuals to be able to choose where they go to see their doctor and their nurse and all of those people. And we also feel that the state of Indiana really needs some other options. Right now, residential options are pretty much, your RHS. For individuals, they can do shared living, which is the structured family caregiving, supported living, and sometimes that, unfortunately, that looks sort of like group home. And so trying to provide a living model that really is inclusive for the individual and the least restrictive for the individual. And we think that this is the model that would do that.
Great. Thanks, Kara,
No
for all
problem.
that really good information. Thanks to everyone. Sorry, I was putting some stuff in the chat. There's a lot of emails and links and stuff. So I think I've got mostly everyone in, and again, we'll provide this information out too. We have a couple questions for, let's look here, for Abby Key. Let me pull these up really quickly. Okay, and I think you've also, Abby, addressed these in the chat, so I can reiterate what you said. Someone had asked, do you plan to offer concurrent dual modality for caregivers to attend, such as in-person and virtual for the courses? Abby, do you want to address that really quickly?
Yeah, we were just saying at this time, we plan to at least record it so then we can offer the recordings to people if they had missed a class. However, in the future, we do hope to get the technology that we can stream it live and then engage with questions right there on the spot. Some of the feedback though is that there's a lot of areas that don't necessarily have great service. So the whole live streaming right now is still up for debate, but we at least plan to record this each of the sessions that we do.
Great. And the second question for you was, will there be opportunities for caregivers to receive positive reinforcement throughout the course and or at the end of the course?
Yeah, so part of the cool part of the training is going to be that we want to use positive reinforcement with the attendees. So that way we can do some token economies and just provide some incentive and things for attendance. And then also use that like behavior principles in order to really drive home those ideas. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Great questions. I do not see any other questions in the Q&A. So I will, our posted on here is my email address as well as the beads.help email address. So if you guys have any questions after, you know, later today or anything that around the projects, around any of these specific projects, please feel free to reach out. I've included, I believe, everyone's email address in the chat as well. And so feel free to reach out to them, you know, if you're interested or you just have some feedback, even if the one of the pilots is not an area that you are located in, or you're not able to participate, please share feedback. I mean, everyone on the call, we all want to hear from, you know, everyone across the state around these projects. I think that is it for today. Like I said, this will be recorded. The slides will be shared over the next couple weeks. We will be posting them on that webpage that I shared at the very beginning of the webinar. And our next round 3 is on Monday, I believe. And so stay tuned if you're able to join us. All of these are at 10 o'clock. They are on different days, but they do start at 10 o'clock, each of the different sessions. So next week is Monday and looks like Wednesday. So hopefully you can join us next week to hear more about some of the other projects that are going on. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks.